the Melkin, a golden crown on his curly and lustrous hair, a proud look and an insensitive smile. It is said he is a king, but the truth is that in France no one respects him. The so-called Melkin was a man in his early 20s, a governor during the 18th century who preferred to play hunting alongside slaves, watch plays made by his servants, or spend the afternoon inventing amusement for his fluffy cat instead of paying attention to the reason he was born. In fact, his favorite activities were completely opposite of what was expected of a true leader of the country. Thierry doesn't even show interest in fighting a queen on hers of the throne. Therefore, he was considered crazy, and people attributed to mental problems his dissatisfaction with the life he had no option to choose. To take reins of politics was his mother and a council of elderly men, who merely after each city's audience point out to the king where and how many times to sign documents. He, without any other interest than the end of each day, usually obeys without questioning others. He never did, because from his lonely childhood between ethics and manners, he supposes that they, who were always adults, know better than him what his people need, or so he prefers to believe, turning a deaf ear to hunger, violence, and sad reality to outskirts on his luxurious life. Far from that, there was also a different man. He could be considered ahead of his time, if at least he has the ego to know what he has done for the sick and dying people that not even priests encourage salvation. To his patients, Lucas Liebhardt offers syrups and vaccines forged in his own modest garden lab, products of years of study in the art of medicine. The German doctor who arrived long ago, settling in a lonely but dreamy route, keep a narrative, and it is about continuing to grant life expectancy, in addition to achieving efficiency in the control of these diseases. A free thinker, someone who does not ignore the unfair life he has known around, a secret revolutionary, who is against slavery and against inequality between men and women. Eventually, one morning when the king injured his arm falling from a tree, playing with his mischievous cat, his advisor immediately looked for the best doctor available. That was Lucas. They break into the house and inform him of the important mission that was entrusted to him. A few hours later, with Thierry's splint bandaged from shoulder to elbow, he seems to focus more on the gentle doctor's warm clothes than on his accident.
Wow, you did a very good job. What do you think if you become my personal doctor? And by the way, we could be friends. The truth is that I need one. I live surrounded by bored, old men who do not stop talking about politics and money.
Aren't you the king? Not at all. I even wished I was one.
There is the mystery solved after the rube of madness, an imposed life. It is curious that instead of reputation, he ends up feeling sorry for him. And even when he was not sure about accepting the offer to serve him directly for not abandoning those who get sick and really need him, a light of possibilities inspires him. The only place where he could fight to change the nation is from the parliament with the help of the king. In his mind, it seems the answer he sought for so many years. The idea was to pretend friendship, and over the weeks and months together with Thierry, unexpectedly for him, it becomes genuine. He discovered that he was not cruel by nature, a bad person. He was only raised in a cold environment, indifferent to everything that was not dirty, for as long as he can remember. It was Lucas' turn to teach the king about the meaning of compassion, the human values that make us all not diverse races, but one species. He educates him to be considerate of those slaves who are not insensitive pets for his entertainment, but people like him who feel and suffer. In return, His Highness gains interest in projects to improve the quality of life of his people. He could win the love of the people who always spoke badly behind his back. That's right, Lucas had the solution, a reform project, and everyone except the rich would benefit.
A pioneer sees his dreams come true little by little, but it is an arduous struggle and a long way to go. All that has been achieved to date had been battles against disdainful glances by the royal council. Since before law number 3, the king's word is absolute. It was decided by votes. The majority had to be in agreement. Today, that is not necessary, since His Highness agreed with everything that his friends proposes. With a shared smile, Lucas tweaked each new law, and they both dedicated themselves to spreading them in the city, along with their chosen men on their behalf. As a result of his situation, those who had been rooted in the court for many years see their personal interests threatened after the arrival and influence of Libertaire on the king. He was not even born in France.
We cannot allow a madman and a nobody doctor to take the control of our kingdom. They're doing crazy things. Vaccines? Those gadgets could kill children. Women working and studying? Please, we'll know that they do not serve more than transgender and raise their children. But the most absurd thing, number slaves, they move our economy with a minimum of cost in workmanship and are easily replaceable when they die.
Lucas is the enemy of the country, and we're not going to let him get away with it.
Rather, the rigorous Jean on the leaders of parliament, all the elders in the court agreed with him, convinced that each alteration, daring to disappear the laws that had been in place for decades, is a serious mistake, a waste of time, a wealth hidden from the king. They decide to eliminate the origin of the dilemma. Supported by the king, Jerry's mother, they form the plot for the royal doctor and wrest his influence, declaring his young majesty unfit in decision-making, and for that, locking him in a special room of the palace where they would excuse themselves from treating his disease. For the mother, everything is a supposed sacrifice for the great good, blinded by the strong determination that the council persuades above her. On the pages of the book that Lucas Lieberherr writes, it says, "The only true disease that corrodes the health of the kingdom is the ignorance of the capitalists who feed and enrich themselves at the cost of misery and streets. As tyrants sigh, since those who once placed all their faith and future in them, but in turn were equally ignorant, not out of desire because of a lack of education. It is not a coincidence. In fact, this is how the court needs them." The beginning of the nightmare, once the king was dethroned, isolated from all ability to lead, his good friend was in danger, and it reached the point that the boys everywhere rose from him the charges against him, as cruel as far of reality were conspiracy and treason to the crown. It was said that he was seeking to experience his witchcraft, which are nothing but elaborated and advanced conditions, injectables that the rest without all his years of history could never understand. He was sentenced to jail for days locked in a stone cell, tortured with creeping even when he tried to cover himself with his arms in a corner, without water or food. Every once in a while, they throw a dead rat at him before hearing the guards laugh and close the dungeon. The small window at the top of the covered wall is the only presence that warns him of the passage of time, an oblique thrust of fragile like his hopes of survival. But above the words become an echo, words that once were gratitude of the people in the streets, and today they are words that yearn for his execution, the same words that insult him to death.
Traitor! You deceive us with your concoctions that the devil himself taught you! And now the good king is sick! Because of you!
Shouts one of woman in the mob of villagers, talking to the soles of his boots in front of them, a blurry and converting their Lucas response in despair.
I am one of you. How can you forget your healthy children thanks to me? Your ladies who were forgiven of unjust sentences by lust that had ceased to exist, and crimes they did not commit. It was all because of the new policies that the king and I forget. Look around the traitors for believing in the queen's fallacies, but without questioning all that we have done for you.
Drawn from the aching arms by Brutus, who led him to the guillotine with the hopper behind him, villagers throw fruit and poisonous words. On the dais, Lucas is forced to fall to his knees, his neck moldered under the bloody guillotine, a tall monster sharp, indifferent to his bare tears, to the trembling of his body and the unworthy end of the life's selfless. Everything seems to indicate the unworthy outcome. However, some time ago the villager Dominic, in his temporary stay in the town, gained interest in the stories about Liethard the king, which today surprised by the radical turn of events, and this is not the first time he has heard of innocent convicted of the greed of the monarchy.
Dominic and Jacob, his partner in crime, do not usually stay more than 2 weeks in the same place, but they make the exception by gaining time in their plans to liberate Lucas, and it was that misty morning chosen for the beheading that they took the only chance to save his life. On a couple of horses in the vicinity overlooking the forest, hiding among the lush willows, both armed with arrows with flammable points, they initiated a distraction by setting fire to the two royal carriages. From a distance, a scandal enough to alert the mob, the guards, and the executioner himself. In fact, the latter one was directly attacked when a burning rod flies up and gets embedded in his shoulder, stopping the execution on time. Thick smoke bombs were fired from the last arrows near the dais. There, in chaos, the morbid audience, agility, and the experienced masked heroes and their speedy steeds, in less than a minute, entertained in the middle of the confusion which they will know how to take advantage of, they also did not hesitate to swing the storm when necessary. After sharing the guard, Dominic quickly unties Lucas and put him on his horse. A few pocket small bombs were smashed to the ground, and without another precious second, they escaped as quickly as they arrived from the scene. In the flight of those who are quite used to it, they separate the path to continue entertaining their pursuers. However, the rebels know better the escape routes analyzed days in advance, and finally, at nightfall, the three of them met at the Great Pond, an old abandoned house hiding between the mountains. Thank you very much. I don't believe in miracles, although I wouldn't know what to call it.
Oh, it's not that bad, but I'd rather you call me Dominic, and this is my friend Jacob. Ah, I've heard a lot about you. You're like me. You dream of improving the quality of life for everyone, repelling crimes against humanity. Yes, I am also one of those insurgents who believe in the forbidden books of liberalism.
Fraternal gaze, hopeful in Lucas for the fortune of knowing and sharing his ideal with people, is suddenly overshadowed by the harsh reality where he will never be able to return home. His hope has died during the tormenting corner in darkness, wanting to die, but somehow he feels that that version of him has died, and another stronger, wiser has born from the light of justice that the young hero in front of him, of sky eyes and honest smile, symbolizes. The three of them are willing to continue fighting for their dreams. For months, far away in another town, Lucas is trained in the art of the sword, the arrow makes explosive, and in return, he taught them about medicines, ointments, and the correct way to treat poisoning. Of course, our story of altruism and feats does not end here, since the dear German friend of the unfortunate Mad King never for a single day tried to forget him. The winter night, where the strong rain, the thunder, and lightning were a strident symphony necessary to disarray the enemies. First, they managed to infiltrate a strategic area of the enormous wall. In the shadows, they put the necessary guards to sleep. They threatened one dagger against the neck to extract the whereabouts of the king. Once inside the castle, they entrust the sitting fast of those who may across the corridors. To William, a professional actor, the man who joined in the same cast as Dominic almost 2 months ago, he was impeccable in his stolen guard suite, who previously had to put to sleep a guard who was supposed to keep an eye on the Gun King, who requires his monthly medical examination. By the time other castle soldiers learned that His Highness is nowhere to be found, Lucas' group was already crossing their last man through the crevice of the royal fort, escaping at the top speed of their faithful veterans. The applause of the exuberant rain continues to celebrate the victory. That of the compassionate man who saw the child cap in the eye of John Terry, the only person who genuinely cared for him as another victim of the monarchy, only a human being manipulated by others' people great, his friend back tonight, finally together. To flee to another distant land, another country, and begin to live his own life for the first time. Pray to the blue sky each morning for the well-being of Lucas in his gallant adventures, even if it seems like a lonely city hiding in the depths of a forest lost. Tastes like happiness, free soul, especially since no one will tell him how many records is the limit to adopt.